Mhm. Hi, my name is Jody, and back in 2003, I believe it was, I went to a doctor, supposed doctor that was here, coming in every 3 to 4 months, and all these people said that, he did the permanent thing. He would put the permanent in your lips, and would never go away. So decided I would go and see what it was like. So I go there, and he puts silicone in my top and lower lip. And I immediately, after about 3 or 4 months, noticed that some of it had gone away, some of it had not. So if that wasn't bad enough, a friend of mine that was a flight attendant for us said, well, let's go to this other doctor because he only comes every 3 or 4 months, and he's supposedly supposed to be really good, and he can just put a little bit more in your top lip where it's starting to go away, and the bottom lip. So I went to doctor number 2, that, come to find out, was not doctor at all, and he puts more in my top lip and lower lip. The minute I got home, I looked in the mirror and I started crying. I thought, oh my gosh, it's never going to be gone. I mean, I've ruined my looks. I called off sick the next 3 or 4 days and decided I had to go back to work. When I went back to work, the first girl that looked at me said, Jody, did you get stung by a bee? What the heck's the matter with you? I'm like, I don't even want to talk about it. So pretty much from then on, I decided that I probably had no other choices but to live like I was living, which was miserable. I basically just looked every day at myself and thought, what did you do? Why did you do this? That you couldn't have done anything worse to yourself than you did. And time went on and time went on, and I started thinking to myself, what am I going to do? And I'd go to a couple of doctors and I said, look, I'm miserable. And they said, you know what, I'm not touching that. That's really tricky. Lips are tricky, and I'm not going to do anything. You know what? I don't think there's anything you can do. Just ignore it, leave it alone. And this is just one of those things you can't fix. And so I went on about a year or two, and I was miserable. And every time I looked at myself certain ways in the mirror, I totally stayed away from the mirror. I got to where I didn't even want to look in the mirror because it was horrible. And I thought to myself, you know what, there's got to be somebody somewhere that can help me. There has to be. And I started, doing some checking and looking in the computer, the internet, calling, just anything I could do. And I finally found lip reduction in a Dallas doctor, Dr. Lamb, and I started, looking at his before and after pictures, and I thought, oh my gosh, you know what? I got to take this chance. So I went on his YouTube, and I found a girl that had some work done, and I called and I said, can I please talk to this girl, because I don't know what she's had done, but they look great, and if there's any hope for me to be normal again for my lifetime, I've got to take this chance. So she called me and pretty much not talked me into it, because I'd pretty much made my mind up, but she eased my mind that it was the best thing she did. She too was in the same situation that I was in. I mean, it was day in and day out. You just look at yourself every day and you just want to cry, because you know that you've ruined something that I need not have even have done, and if I would have gone to the right person to begin with, it would have been great. So I called and I made a consultation with Dr. Lamb, and he said he could help me. At that point, I thought I was only going to get the top lip done, but when I came in and I spoke with him, and he reassured me and said the bottom lip needed done as well, I 100% agreed. And I had it done that day, and it 100% hands down was the best thing I ever did. I knew from the minute the surgery was over, which didn't hurt at all, 1 iota, that as soon as I looked at my lips, I knew, even after the healing effect had gone away, no matter what, it was still 95% better. And I'm 1 year out now, and I knew that it was good, because people would look at me and say, oh my gosh, you look so good. And that was one thing I had never heard. in 5 years, they'd say, oh, did you do something different? Or, oh, but I never heard you look great. And I would hear that all the time before I had this done. All the time, but nothing, or you look different. What did you do? Something's different. But it was never, you look good. And from the day that I went back to work, which I was almost, I could basically go back to work in about a week and a half to where I wasn't. And then by 2 to 3 weeks, nobody even knew anything had happened. And as it had progressed, the year had gone on, it kept getting better and better and better. I mean, the healing process is different for everybody because no telling what different people have done, put in your lips or whatever. But for me, I had messed it up twice, 3 times actually, so I knew that it was going to take a little bit longer, which was nothing. I mean, and I'm back here today, 1 year later, and you forget how bad things were in the year when you've had a really good year and you feel good about yourself and you look good and people tell you, you look great and oh my gosh, I'm so glad you did that to your lips because you look great again. It's wonderful. And I'm back a year later and I saw the before pictures and I totally forgot how bad they were. I look at myself and I thought, I just looked back there and I'm like, oh my gosh. No wonder for 5 years of my life, I didn't want to go out of my house. No wonder for 5 years of my life, I was in it's sort of a depression, and I really was. And I couldn't be any happier. And I'm just so blessed that I found him, and I'm so blessed that I made the decision to do it, and I'm so blessed that I look like I look now because I would not have had I not come here 1 year ago, July. And I couldn't be any more happier. And I'm a very good story, so. I'm sorry, I just had 5 really bad years with the way I looked. And I remember now how bad it was being here because 5 years ago when I walked in that office, I did not know what was going to happen. And he saved my life. And I said it back then, and I said it now. I'm just so blessed to be here. Thank you.